So following that trend, I think one of the easiest things to do then would be to see that if muckrakers can expose corruption in government, we can fix it. And of course, we know one of the classic examples is the political machine, right? We know that political machine takes power away from voters because it almost manipulates voters to vote for a certain party. Whether you get out there and you vote once with your beard for the Democrats in Tammany Hall, then you shave it to the mustache and you vote again, then you vote again with no mustache. Right? We have to find ways to take power back from machines and give it back to the voters. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples here of what progressives do to give voters more control over their politicians in office and less power to those political machines that use graft and take advantage of workers in more difficult ways. One of those would happen up in Wisconsin, actually, believe it or not, which is called the direct primary. And you can see it over here on this slide to the left. The idea in a direct primary is that instead of having political machines say who you can or can't vote for, we're going to give people the power to choose directly who it is they want to vote for. They're not going to be bullied by those political machines into voting for just one candidate. There's only one person who's running for Democrats, so we're going to make sure that you have to vote for that one, or that there's only one person running for Republicans, so you can only vote for that one, giving those political machines incredible power. Instead, what we're going to see happen is lots and lots of people running for political office, no matter what party you're in, and we're going to see those same people then attempt to get the votes of individuals. So here's an example actually from our current presidential elections that's running right now as the primaries are set to kick off here in January 2016. So you, on the right-hand side, you have Republicans, and you can see that there was a boatload of Republicans who wanted to run for this office. You've got 17 different Republicans on this page right here who've run, and you can see that 5 of them have already dropped out. So we really have still here 12 different candidates? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 different candidates still running for the Republican candidate for president for 2016. And over here, Democrats get to choose from 3 different candidates that we think are going to be running for office in 2016. And the idea is when it's your state's turn to vote, you go vote for whatever person you want in your party. And that's the person your state will choose. And eventually this will narrow down and we'll have one Democrat and one Republican who's running for office. But this definitely says, okay, voters, you get to choose the field. There isn't just one Democrat and one Republican that you get to choose from, picked for you by some political machine. Another example of what we're going to see here is going to be the initiative. And the initiative says, you know what, citizens of America, is there something that you think is really important that you want to force your government to vote on? What if a political machine doesn't want to vote on something? Well, you can force them to vote on it with the initiative. The way it works is, if something you're really important, you have to go out and you have to get a whole bunch of signatures. I don't know, maybe it's 10,000 signatures or 15,000, whatever it is. And when you get those signatures, you can force your government to vote on the issue. For example, maybe it's on the legalization of marijuana. Maybe you want your state to vote on that. Lots of states have done this. This is how Colorado did it, how Washington did it. They got out, they had a bunch of people sign a petition that said our government has to vote on whether or not we should have marijuana legalized in our country for medicinal uses or even recreational uses. That's the reason those votes happen in those states. It wasn't that those states wanted to do it. The people said, we're going to have these initiatives, and we're going to see just what those people in our state, in our government, are going to do if we pass this initiative. The second thing is called a referendum, and that's when the legislators of a state can say, you know what? This is such a really big and important issue. We need to make sure that everyone in our state has the opportunity to vote on it. So here's a referendum that took place over in Europe just about a year ago, which was a really big issue. Should Scotland be an independent country? That's a freaking huge issue that probably a lot of people in Scotland want something to say about that, right? So they let everyone choose to vote on this. On a certain day, everyone went to the polls, and you just put an X. Should Scotland be an independent country? Should it no longer be a part of Great Britain and the United Kingdom? That was a really big deal, and that's called a referendum. the other really big voting reform that takes power away from political machines, right? Because obviously, if we're saying to people that you can make your party, your political machines vote on things with initiatives, and you can cast a direct vote yourself in a referendum that makes a law, well, then the other thing that we really want to do is what's right above my head there, which is going to be suffrage, expanding the right to vote. Because if you get more and more women out there voting, then more and more issues are going to be important to the average American at the polls and to the average politician. So women in the progressive era had to fight a long time to get the right to vote. It wasn't given until 1920, and it was done on a state-by-state basis. And we'll see this tomorrow, that states, one at a time, started to elect women the right to vote, and over time it picked up pace, so that by 1920, when the 19th Amendment was passed, and you can see that right here, passes and permits either sex the right to vote, then we actually had close to a majority of all states allowing women the right to vote already. So this is yet another way in which we could see more and more women getting the right to influence policy, more and more women getting the right to influence government, and taking it away from just what men might want with those political machines and those party politicians. So there's three quick ways, or four quick ways I should say, progressives are able to use the right to vote to take power away from those corrupt politicians and give it instead to the people.